Well, hello, this is Denise Miller, your Leadership Lady Live, and we are finishing up our first week in June. I've declared June Dad Stories Month. And dad stories are much better than dad jokes because it's the dad stories that tell us how people have been socialized by their fathers to be leaders in this world. I'd like to start a little bit with my dad's story. My dad actually had two very different careers. When I was a little girl and through my early teenage years, he was a ship boilermaker for the Department of the Navy. But then the Navy Yard in my city closed and he retrained to become an x-ray technician. And he loved that work so much that he continued to train to be a technician. And he was at the very foundation of what is now nuclear medicine. I remember being 15 years old. At the time, my dad was probably about 40, and we were sitting at the dining room table doing homework together. I remember my dad going to the hospital to watch autopsies and doing all of those kinds of what I considered really gory things, but he loved the world of medicine. And he also loved advocacy. My father became the union representative for his entire hospital in the Hospital Workers Union. He loved his work. And I learned from my father, number one, the value of resilience. I learned, secondly, the fact that you must always be willing to learn and grow. And then thirdly, I learned from my father the value of looking out for the people you work with, the people around you, to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. And as a leader, those are some of the basic kinds of values that we need. But now there are other stories that I'd like to tell you about. The first one is kind of like my dad's story, and it's the story of Howard Schultz's father. Howard Schultz's father, Fred Schultz, was a truck driver, and they struggled financially. In fact, Harold Schultz grew up in a housing project that was not too far from where I was raised. And I remember that Howard Schultz always made it a point to make sure that the people in Starbucks, even the part-timers, had great benefits and were able to get medical benefits. And the reason that he did this was because his father was treated unfairly by the organization that he worked with. And as a leader, another question: are you making sure that you are treating your employees fairly? Are you making sure that they have what they need to survive? Are you paying them reasonably for the work that you're asking them to do? Are you making sure that they can take care of their families, that they can take care of themselves when they're ill, that they can have everything that they need within reason to survive? The next story is Arianna Huffington. Arianna Huffington's father, Konstantinos Stasinopoulos, was a journalist, and she learned the importance of curiosity and questioning from her father. In fact, she followed in her father's footsteps to become a world-famous journalist. And her father encouraged her to read widely, to ask questions about everything, and that helped her to develop that critical and inquisitive mind that has been essential to her excellent journalism. Now, as leaders, why do we need to do that with the people who follow us? Well, it's really simple. When the people around you are inquisitive, when the people around you are learned, when they have looked into several different aspects of what you're asking them to do, when they in fact actually challenge you about some of the practices and procedures that you want to follow, that makes your organization a much better organization. Don't be afraid to have people in your organization who are smarter than you, more well exposed, and better trained even than you, because that's going to improve your organization. Remember that as the leader, when you are looking out for the welfare of the individuals in your organization, when you are encouraging them to be resilient, to change, to learn more, and when you're advocating for them as a leader, those individuals will not try to usurp your authority. In fact, they cannot usurp your authority because you're allowing them to grow, and most people do not want to get in the way of their own growth. And for the person who does, because there's always that one who might try, always remember that you are still the one in charge, that you still, to a degree, call the shots, and you can still stop a person who is acting or not acting in a way that really supports the team. You can short circuit and stop the bad actors. Now, I hope that you will think about these leadership tips. They're really very interesting. And what I'd like to know is, do you have a dad story? And it might not be your dad. It might be an uncle. It might be a grandfather. It might be a stepfather. It might be just an elder in the community who was male, who helped train you. But I don't only want to tell my dad's story. I want to hear about yours as well. Thank you so much for listening. Have an absolutely excellent balance of the week.